Stan Gibilisco here, author of Teach Yourself Electricity and Electronics, 5th edition, a link to which I will include in the description of this video. So if you're interested in exploring this book further and possibly buying it, you can go there to the Amazon link, again in the description of this video. But what I'd like to show you now is figure 5-7 from this book. This is a voltage divider network, sort of a generic or generalized circuit diagram of it, where a series connected set of resistors divides up the voltage from a battery and provides intermediate voltages E1, E2, E3, and then E sub n, which always equals the battery voltage E. Well, now suppose that each one of these resistors has the same value, say, 5 ohms each, and we have a battery with a constant voltage. It really doesn't matter what that is. Let's say 24 volt battery, and let's say each one of these resistors here has let's just say 4 ohms of resistance. And let's say that there are only 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to divide this 24 volts up equally 4 ways. So we're going to get 6 volts for E1, 12 volts for E2, 18 volts for E3, and then for E4, which would be E sub n, we're going to get the full 24 volts from the battery. Again, each one of these resistors here is 4 ohms. Now let's say that we double these resistances so that each one of these resistances becomes 8 ohms. What's going to happen then? Well, in that case, you might suspect that because 8 times 4 is 32, we're going to get some different voltages here. But remember, if all these values are equal, R sub 1, R sub 2, R sub 3, and R sub 4, if all the ohmic values are equal, then it doesn't matter what they are. E sub 1 is going to be 6 volts, E sub 2 is going to be 12 volts, E sub 3 is going to be 18 volts, and E sub 4 is going to be the full 24 volts. They could be 1 ohm, they could be 1,000 ohms, they could be 72 ohms, they could be anything as long as they're all equal and as long as there are only 4 of them. The caveat here is that depending on the values of these resistors, whether they be 4 ohm, 8 ohm, 100 ohm, whatever, the current through this whole circuit is going to be different. And remember that the voltage across a resistor equals the current through that resistor times its resistance. So if we double the resistance of each resistor, we will cut the current in half, thereby rendering the same products for E1, E2, E3, and E4. That said, the values that we decide upon for these resistors are going to depend upon whether or not we have a load connected to this voltage divider, and if we do have a load connected to it, how heavy that load is, because if it's a very heavy load, it is going to have an effect on how well this circuit works. You can learn more about this and many other topics related to it once again in my book, Teach Yourself Electricity and Electronics, 5th edition. And by the way, if you're into ham radio, my call sign is W1GV, Whiskey 1, Good Vibrations, saying 73 from somewhere in the deep reaches of outer space. Signing off for now. So long.